Hello, my name is Ramon Oliveira and this is the U.S. Navy 7th Fleet Force Projection Improvement Progress Report. Currently, the U.S. Navy is in need of an increased presence on the East Pacific Ocean. This is due to increased aggression by China, Russia, and North Korea during recent years. To increase the presence of the U.S. military on this theater, we require deployment of more ships from the U.S. mainland, or making more ships, which is not feasible due to constraints on money, resources, and time. So to increase the presence of the U.S. Navy in that area, we have to increase the patrol times or time at sea of the ships currently forward deployed in Japan and the 7th Fleet, which is the fleet assigned to that area. In efforts to implement that, right now the ship repair facility at Yokosuka, Japan is trying to implement an improvement to the procedures, schedule, and overall repairs procedures to minimize the time required for repairs, time required for the boat to be at the shipyards, and trying to increase or improve the maintenance procedures to decrease the overall time required. This is a gas turbine inspection right now being undertaken at the Ship Repair Facility, or SRF, at Yokosuka. Our actions to trying to implement these efforts have been to compile procedures that could be improved by streamlining them and decreasing the overall time required for them to be completed. That was an engineering effort that then was passed on to Chief Force, which is the actual Navy guys on the boat, and the production facilities inside the shipyard, which are actually the ones doing the work while the ship is at the shipyard. So with the compilation of the procedures, they then review those procedures, and then they decide which ones will be feasible and which one were not, and that breakdown will come down later on in the procedure in the presentation. And also, Ship Force and the production facilities are right now reviewing a new draft that engineering prepared that has a new critical path. It's more streamlined. It will decrease the overall time the boats will be in the shipyard, with the new improved procedures, and deferring some of the procedures to be performed at sea while the ship is still deployed. So this is the procedural breakdown that I mentioned before. Engineering had a number of procedures that we wanted to improve, but then we got turned down on some of them, which the graph shows that we got around 23 procedures that can be improved and around 18 that cannot. This is not ideal, as we thought we could have more procedures be improved, but it's still a measurable improvement from what we stand right now. It's still a feasible project to be pursued. Other things that we have is we have completed some of the procedures to be improved, and Ship Force and production department are reviewing those drafts to see if they're feasible and they're applicable to what we want to accomplish. And very importantly, we set out a test bed for the implementation of these improvements on the USS McCain. So the USS McCain, here's a picture of the USS McCain a few years back due to a collision at sea. And here we see that the extensive hull damage from the USS McCain due to another boat pretty much colliding perpendicular to the boat. The bow of the ship pretty much pierced below the waterline for the boat. There was, I believe, loss of life on the collision, and that boat, it's still, the USS McCain is still at the shipyard today, undergoing repairs due to that collision. So problems that we have encountered during this implementation has been, we have to figure out prioritization of the procedures that must be improved. We have to see what is more worth, or our worthwhile, more bang for the buck, if you say. So we have to put our resources smartly on trying to figure out this procedure will cut more time because it's more complicated, and then if we improve this one, then this one will be have the overall more gains. Or do we focus on more smaller procedures that they'll add up to match the other one? That's something that we have to work with Shipforce and the production right now. Also, we have to consider emerging work. So emerging work will be something that came up out of the blue. Going back to the McCain, we did not expect the boat to have a collision. So that has to be up on the priority list, like immediate. So you have to repair it now. So emergent work is something that is an emergency repairs that we really can't account for. Also, everything that is implemented has a learning curve. So at first, we're trying to improve the process, but at first we might actually make it worse due to people being trained to do things a certain way, and now that we're trying to change that, there's mistakes, human nature, they reluctant to change. It's just the nature of the beast. We're trying to overcome those problems by having improved training, having workshops on the new procedures, and that's all will be implemented once we have a path forward on which procedures are we gonna improve, like 100%, and and the schedule is set to be accomplished. Also, something else that I have not talked about is the procurement. So if we are trying to improve the procedures to repair and for repair and maintenance need material, and if we're trying to make something new with the procedures, the material procurement might be affected. So that's something else that we have to take into account, and that's more in the logistics section of the problem solving after we get our procedures squared away. So for closing, the implementation again is the main concern. How do we implement this without affecting what we have right now? So the implementation will have a learning curve, and the priority will be for the procedures and the repairs not to take longer or cause more damage while we're trying to make things better. So the implementations will be a tricky thing that we have to pay attention to, and has to be trained and carefully watch. So we're trying to make things better, and again, there's still room for improvement due to we had in our minds a number of procedures that could be improved, and then those things got slashed pretty much in half. So even though it's an improvement, there's still, in my opinion, more that we can do to improve the procedures and the repairs, so we can have an increased U.S. Navy fleet presence in the at the Pacific theater. And again, I'm, this is something that is a worthwhile project that can be implemented and will be implemented, and with the help of the U.S. Navy ship force and the production on the yard, this will be a worthwhile endeavor for the U.S. Navy fleet. Okay, thank you very much and have a good night.